Welcome back to the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Paul, licensed realtor, team lead at the Infinity Real Estate Group at eXp Realty in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I'm here to help you gain a better understanding of real estate in Halifax. Hit that subscribe button, and the Halifax Real Estate Podcast is now on Discord, where I break down our upcoming guests, topics, and hopefully create a little more engagement with you guys so you can have your questions answered as well. Now back to the show. In part one of today's two-part podcast, my guest is Ammanuel Shiferaw. Manny is a real estate investor in Halifax who bought his first duplex in February 2020. Since then, Manny has gone on to acquire over 107 doors and moved into purchasing real estate with joint venture partners outside of Canada. Please welcome Manny. Hey Manny, how are you?
I'm good, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm good. Technical difficulties. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. It's been a long time coming.
We've been trying to set this up for a long time now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know. I lost a year. Just don't hold it against me. I guess today we're having you on because when we first spoke, I think in 2021, you had mentioned how your fascinating and real estate investing journey has been, and you're one of the few people that I really liked in terms of like how you got here. So I guess like you are a real estate investor nowadays. How many properties do you have under your belt? How many doors do you own?
Right now, 4 properties and 13 doors.
Okay. So, and that's when did you start your real estate investing journey?
So it would have been 2018 where I really started like educating myself. So to take us back, I'm a nurse, registered nurse. That's how I kind of started my adult life. But after a month or so, a
month into nursing,
I said, this is not it. I can't do this.
You lasted a month.
I'm still a nurse actually to this day, but I just knew I needed to have an alternate source of income coming in.
Yeah.
And, I've told a couple people I tried to day trade, and it did not go well. So I quickly pivoted and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I wanted to get into investing. So that was probably like the end of 2018. 2019, did all my research, met with some good, real estate agents, some mentors. And then my first building was bought right before COVID, February 2020, a duplex.
That was your first purchase?
First purchase, yeah.
Okay, so you dropped a few things in there. You started nursing in 2018.
Yep.
And after a month, we're like, this ain't it. I'm not gonna get ahead in this. This income and how hard I'm working doesn't seem to equate to what I want in life.
Exactly. And if I'm sure your listeners know a nurse. We work long shifts, days and nights. It's not good for family life. Night shifts are quite literally a carcinogen. So it's like when you do those long enough, it puts you at risk for getting cancer.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, after that 1 month, it took me 1 month to realize that I couldn't do this for 30 years and I needed to figure something else out.
Okay. Now, where you tried day trading and that didn't work. I don't need to get into that because I can see your face.
Damn, man. Quick story, man.
Yeah.
I did it for 1 week.
Okay.
My first trade, I made like 10 grand. It was unbelievable. I'm like, I'm going to be rich as hell. I very quickly lost that 10 grand and more. And I did not have enough money to do this much longer. So I stopped.
Sounds like day trading.
That is.
So you tried day trading, realized that wasn't it. And then did you read Rich Dad Poor Dad next?
Yeah.
Yeah, you read Rich Dad, which is a great book.
It's a really great book. Almost the vast majority of investors that I know, that's one of the key founding books.
It's always like you ask someone, if you talk to an investor just in general, you ask them to recommend a book, it's always Rich Dad Poor Dad.
100%.
It's always.
Yep.
So you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and you think houses.
Yep.
Now it took you 2 years from that point to buy your first house. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing your next 2 years was really well educating yourself on how to get in the game.
Exactly. And just I didn't know all the little tricks and stuff about how to raise money and all that stuff. So I just thought I needed to come up with 10, 20, 30 grand to buy my first home. So to do so, I had to work. And I had to save up. And that 2 year period. And I wanted to have like a sizable like T4 income. So the bank would give me a loan.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did that for 2 years. And then that's when I was ready to make my first purchase.
And I'm guessing during those 2 years, you're trying to get your education going for real estate. So
yep.
Where are you going for your information? Where are you going for your help? Where are you going for your guidance? Because no one just decides to be a real estate investor and then becomes a real estate. You know what I mean? You don't just buy a house the next day and think like, oh, I'm now this. It's usually there's some education involved. So where did you go for that?
YouTube and podcasts, hard. That's where I came across yours for the first time. Actually, I've been listening to some American-based ones, like pretty heavily before I came across yours, and then even some Ontario-based ones. So I'm like, okay, cool, some Canadian content.
Yep.
And then obviously I listened to yours and I loved it. But yeah, so podcasts, YouTube, books, all that stuff. I just consumed it all aggressively, man, at scale. That's all I did. I'm busting to work back before I had a car, podcast going. When I did have a car, podcast going in the car, you know? It's constantly having information coming in.
What podcasts were you listening to?
Oh, the big ones off the start, Bigger Pockets, obviously. There's one based out of Ontario. It's called the Rise Real Estate Podcast.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar. Yeah.
Great guys, Austin and Mayu. Those two were probably like my favorite ones. And then Andrew Hines, he has a podcast. Honestly, yours top 4. Like those, those 4 were like the most ones that I listened to back.
You're too kind.
2021.
I mean, and that's where you get your basis for information. So then you're putting away money, trying to get your T4s up to buy that first house. I'm guessing you started shopping in 2019 because you closed in 2020.
Exactly.
What were you looking for at the time?
Duplex. Duplex. Just like house hack, 5% down, duplex. That was the goal.
When you say house hack, what do you mean by that? Because not a lot of people are familiar with that term.
Gotcha. So house hacking is when you buy a small multi, whether it be a duplex, triplex, fourplex. You move in one unit and then you rent out the rest. This allows you to put less money down. So for a duplex, if I'm buying it as a pure investment property, 20% down.
Yeah.
But if I'm moving into it, 5% down. So way less capital off the bat. And yeah, the other renter is subsidizing my mortgage. And there's other ways you can actually do house hacking. It doesn't have to be a duplex. If you buy like a 4-bedroom house and you're comfortable renting out 3 of the bedrooms to your buddies, that's still a house hack.
Yes. So leveraging your house to keep your payments small so that you can start making money back and you're not losing as much of the house or the asset.
Exactly. You can save more of your money. And ideally, you're still cash flow. Like in a perfect world, if you buy a triplex, let's say, you live in one unit, you rent out the other 2. Like one of them will pay your mortgage, and the other one's like
a little
cash
in pocket,
exactly,
that you put away for the next one, right?
Yep.
Or you spend it on a Bugatti. Yep. Okay, so taking us back to, because 2019 was a different market.
Oh, was it ever?
2019 we were starting to get hot, and it was noticeable that the market in Halifax was starting to turn from that really dead, non-existent market we had to it was getting busier. So in 2019, where were you looking in terms of trying to get this first duplex?
I was looking strictly in the HRM.
Okay.
Fairview. So Dartmouth as well, but Fairview, Spryfield, which is actually where I bought it.
Okay.
I was not so much looking in the peninsula of Halifax because it was still pricey.
And comparatively speaking, the peninsula has always been the highest price point.
Yeah.
Right.
Big time. And what I was pre-approved for around that time was, the low 300s. So I had to be strategic about where I looked. And yes, I landed on Spryfield, 10, 15 minutes away from the downtown core. It was a nice 2-bedroom down, 3-bedroom up.
Okay.
Yeah,
how much did you pay for it in 2020 before the market boom?
310.
It's funny now, eh?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Now you see duplexes there, man. 500.
Yeah.
If it's the same quality as the one that I had bought.
If you're trying to get a good move-in ready duplex in HRM now, it's anything near the peninsula. It's a 5.
Yeah.
Anything crap is like 4s, 450s,
yeah,
maybe.
And it's like you said, it's
they're crap. You have to put in a ton of money. They can't cash flow right away and they're probably locked with tenants, right?
Exactly.
So you got your first place. Congratulations. You moved in, and you immediately started house hacking it, rented it out, and you were living in it.
Yeah, briefly.
How briefly were you living in this house for?
That's between me and my my wife. But I moved in briefly. And then my wife's girlfriend, then wife now, did not want to live in a duplex. So she's like, all right, we have to buy our own house. So this was probably, I closed February, March, April. Okay, we need to find another place to live. I moved out in June of 2020.
Okay.
And then I rented out both units.
Nice. So finally got that thing cash flowing positive, I'm assuming?
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember at that time, it was right at the start of COVID.
Yeah.
Banks allowed property owners to kind of freeze their mortgage. I still have to pay it like on the back end.
Yeah.
But just in the short term because of just the uncertainty in the job market and what was going on in the world at the time. So yeah, I was cash flowing nice. As you can imagine, if you don't got to pay a mortgage.
Yeah, you're getting paid a lot on that property.
Oh yeah, those first like 8 months were real nice.
And during that 8 months, you're thinking, this is great. Like that's when you're starting realizing the potential of real estate investing.
Exactly.
And you bought your second place in June.
This is like a single family home, yeah.
So it took you 2-3 months.
Well, so the first one, it was just me, my money.
Okay.
And then the second one was my wife, so she had money.
Oh, okay. So was your name on the second mortgage or no?
Not initially, no.
Not initially. Okay, now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good. That's a very couple.
Yeah, we refied that thing multiple times.
So you bought the next place. So then you've got 2 properties, one that you're living in, one's renting out. How are you? Okay, so this is usually the part where people get tripped up in real estate investing is how do you make the next move, right?
Yeah.
And so what were you looking to do for your next move at the time? Were you looking for another duplex? Because the market's starting to really crank up in 2020. Going into the summer, into the fall is when we started seeing it go into like really our first like special of crazy.
Yep.
So what are you thinking? Where are you looking? What are you trying to do in terms of your next maneuver?
Yeah, so at that time, that summer, I did kind of hit a wall because I didn't have any more money.
Yeah.
Like you said, the market was starting to creep up. And I didn't know anything about the BRRRR model. I don't know if the listeners know.
Buy, rent, renovate, refinance, repeat. BRRRR. Episode 20 with Cameron Katzberg.
Renovate second.
Yeah, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. You're absolutely right.
So I didn't know that at the time. So like that first duplex that I bought, it was just turnkey. I was not handy at all. But I did, again, like I said, I was doing a lot of research. The best way to scale at that time was just a BRRRR small multis. But again, I still needed some money.
It's always seems to be like that's why I was asking what you're doing next. It always seems to be the point of everybody who's starting in this and that industry. And I say industry, which is going to trigger a lot of people, but real estate investing is an industry. In that industry, it's always capital. How do you get it? How do you move it? How do you get liquid? How do you get money out? How do you move it around? All those things. So that's why I'm curious as to how you're looking at you're basically looking at a wall at this time, being like, I got no more money left. I put it in this duplex. I'm cash flowing nice, as you said, because you stopped paying your mortgage.
Yes, just for 6 months.
But you're now. So what are you doing next? How do you operate going next?
So at that point, it's funny. I was learning about how to raise money for deals and really how to pitch the deal to investors. And I read a book back in the day. It was I think it was called like the Joint Ventures for Canadians or something along those lines by a guy named Russell Westcott. And he was talking about where you raise money from people. Like there's 3 circles. In the first circle, it's really like loved ones, parents, uncles. And then like the next level was just like pretty much friends, like people that a little bit, just acquaintances almost. And then like the third level is just straight up strangers. You're obviously big into real estate at this point. You have reputation. You know how to run the business, and you can raise money from them. So I started from like the first circle.
Family.
Went to my parents, my mom, and my dad. I'm like, guys, I found this great triplex in Fairview. I know I can get it for this price. I see the
rents are this.
The ARV is this because the after repair value, other triplexes have sold for this. You give me this money, I can give it back to you in like 6 months max. Plus I'll give you 10%. That was my play.
You offer them incentive.
100%.
Okay.
It's like, my dad's giving me, or my parents, it's $100,000 that I asked for. It's not a small ask.
Okay. You asked for $100K.
Exactly.
Which is a hard, like you said, that's no small ask.
No, it's not. And I'm like, if you give me 100, I'll show you the numbers. This is how it would work. You'll get 110 back in 6 months.
Yeah.
Sold them. My mom, she drove by the property. So it was a triplex in Fairview, like I said.
Yeah.
Purchase price $495.
Whew.
2 of them were 3 bedrooms and one was 2 at the time, but there was room to create a third, which is what we did. 2 of the units were vacant on purchase.
Nice.
So
instantly
we were able to get in there, renovate the units, and I used some lines of credit at that time to kind of renovate them.
Yep.
And then we did a refi. It actually took 3 months.
Yep. Never the timeline you think.
No, man. And at this time too, the market, like you said, was just
every day
speeding up. It was getting stupid. So Obviously, our renos helped, but the market did a lot of the heavy lifting. We were able to get an ARV of 660. You know, I bought it for 495. It's a big lift.
Got your money out.
Pulled all the money out. I'm like, Dad, here's the cash. Now, like, you can just have this 110,000 doing nothing, or you can allow me to go do the exact same thing on another triplex. And he's like, let's do it. And that's exactly what I did. Triplex, North End, Halifax. Same idea. 2 units were vacant on purchase. You know, almost similar actually purchase. This was actually cheaper, $425 purchase price. But then after the work was done, similar ARVs, about 660.
Okay.
So pulled out the cash.
Big pull.
Big pull. It was actually the first perfect burr. So like the Fairview triplex, I had to leave some cash in the deal because I made some mistakes on that one. I over renovated for sure.
Yep.
I didn't need to. I went right down to the studs.
You learn.
Yeah, big time. Big mistake.
Okay, so here's, for timeline's sake, when did you close on the North End one?
That would have been in June.
June 2021?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, you purchased your first investment property with a duplex in Stryfield, February 2020.
Yep.
And then by, 14 months later, you've already got 2 triplexes, a duplex, and you're living in your own single-family home.
Yeah, and so I actually ended up selling that duplex.
Okay.
Right around that same time, mainly because I just wanted to. The market went crazy.
Yeah,
it was like $100,000 profit. I didn't do anything to that building, so I needed some extra cash for renovations. Plus, I had some bigger purchases in mind down the road, so I wanted to free up a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So I sold that duplex. Man, if I kept that thing for one more year though, I probably could have made another $100,000 on top of it.
Says everyone who ever sold in 2020 or 2021.
Right. Jeez, it's crazy, man.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
Know.
I made $100,000. I'm not mad.
Yeah, you made $100,000.
Yeah.
But okay, so you've just sold the duplex now. You've made your $100K profit.
Mm-hmm.
After or is that gross?
That was gross. So after I did move out, so I had to pay capital gains and all that stuff. So probably about $70K profit.
Not bad for a year.
Man, it's my nursing salary. What do you mean?
So you're finally, you sell this thing off. You got 2 triplexes, and we're going into 2021. Mm-hmm. I had just had Ian Armour on for his first interview in the podcast, and I know you guys teamed up slightly later on after that. So where are you going after that triplex, and where are you looking at next?
Yeah, my road with Ian crossed really just 2022, but 2021. So I had the 2 triplexes. Market was getting crazy. I had to shift. So that's really, I made the shift to looking for deals off market.
Okay.
And I started looking in Fairview. So I had a meeting with Janelle, which is Ian's partner. She taught me, or she told me about the strategies, just like sending off market letter campaigns to areas. So
is that what you started doing?
That's exactly what I started doing.
So you said the MLS, realtors can't get a deal.
Yeah, man.
Can't get anything cash flowing, doesn't make any sense financially. We have to try different methods. So private.
Yep.
So you've never done private before.
Nope.
Overwhelming. Got to go meet a bunch of people and try and buy their house.
Well, so my buddy started to become a real estate agent, and I leveraged him. So he was out there looking for off-market deals for me.
Okay.
And he was able to find me a couple. So I was able to close on a 4-plex and a 6-plex, a couple months apart. This is 2022. No,
is it?
2022, the end of 2020, start of 2022.
Okay.
So yeah, bought the 6-plex in January, the 4-plex in April.
So in 2 years, you go from 0 doors to, you had 2, then 3 because you took that. 2 triplexes is 6, plus 3 is 9. Sold the duplex, you're back down to 7, and then you bought a 4 and a 6, so you're at 17.
Yeah.
2 years, 17 doors.
Yes.
How did you get the capital for the 4-plex and the 6-plex?
So the it's funny because when I first started raising the capital for my parents, they were a little hesitant.
Of course.
I've never done this before, but they saw how successful I was for those 2. I was able to just keep on rolling that money over and over. I raised a little bit more from them, and then I started raising capital from elsewhere. So coworkers, people that I know that just had cash, and they send me. Whatever amount of money, like promissory notes, 1-year terms, 2-year terms, whatever it may be.
So you were doing joint venture?
Kind of, but I still own them all because they had no equity. So all they were doing was giving me like a loan.
So you were doing really good joint venture where you were, I know joint venture means both parties own it, but like you were able to raise money to keep the 100% of the asset, but I'm guessing you're giving everyone profit.
Exactly. Absolutely. I'll give them 10%. 10 to 12%.
Okay.
So they're making money. I'm making money. And we're all happy.
Perfect.
On the refis, they always get paid back. And then if they're happy, we just keep rolling it over into the next one.
And it's 2022, which early 2022, and refis were always just something stupid.
Yeah.
It was like
crazy.
Because back in that market, it was like all you had to do was wait a week and you get a good comp. That's all you had to do. You just close your eyes and sleep, and next day you'd have a comp for 100K over what you paid for yours.
Yep.
That's what it was like back then.
Sure
so the
was.
refi for Burr was perfect as a way to guaranteeing someone 10 to 12% return for renovations. Probably back then 3-4 months of work, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And you weren't doing the work yourself. You're hiring out contractors and stuff.
Yeah, I had a great general contractor from the get-go.
Okay.
He's actually it's like a weird family connection. He's honestly, I don't even want to say it, but
No, it's okay.
it's like my father-in-law's
Family friend.
Yeah.
Family friend.
Yeah, we'll go family friend. And I had dinner one time. He's like, yeah, I do renovations. And at that time, it's like the first triplex. I'm like, I need a bathroom done. And then he's like, okay, I can do that bathroom. And that bathroom turned into that whole unit. That whole unit turned into that whole building. And that whole building turned to every single other building that I owned. So
No way. Just roll. So not only are you helping out people get return on investment in terms of financial sense, you're also helping a family member.
Dude, I was trying to calculate how much money I've gave Bruce over the past couple years. I got to be pushing 300. It's
Really?
a lot of money I've given this guy. And he's done amazing work. He does it timely. He's a great guy. He's really taken all the stress away from me on managing a renovation, so I'm very happy to do so. But
He's getting paid.
Yeah, me 100%. He's getting paid. Getting paid well.
All right, so you finished off this 4 and 6.
Yeah, I just bought them.
Yeah.
So the fourplex. Funny story about this one. I bought it in April, and now the market's starting to shift a little bit.
The first mortgage rate hike.
Yeah. So crazy. So April, May, June, July, August, the market's starting to cool down. Rates are starting to go up. Now I'm personally starting to feel the pinch a little bit on being a little over leveraged.
Was everything variable?
Everything was variable.
Yeah.
Everything was variable. So I had to make a decision there last fall, 2022, if I was going to continue to just like raise more capital to keep me afloat or just offload something.
Yeah.
And I had to just offload. So I sold the fourplex. So I bought it in April, and then I sold it in December. I still made a handsome profit.
Okay.
And that really freed me up. That helped me sleep better at night.
Okay. Good call. Not a lot of people wouldn't make that call. They try and make it work and just bleed it out.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I honestly, agonizingly, I thought about that for probably like 2 months. I'm like, should I sell this? Should I try to? Because I knew if I held on to that building 5 years, I just withstand this interest rate environment.
Yeah.
I'd be laughing at the back end. But there would have just been some
It would have.
unrest.
It sounds like it would have taken up your leverage though. How could you grow more if you're bleeding out the back end?
Yeah, I was gonna shift over to large multis anyway, so I didn't care in that regard. It was just liquid cash that I had, especially because like rates were still going up.
Yeah.
The cash flow on these 2 triplexes, they were getting dinged. Like they're still okay now. Like they're probably breaking even, but going from cash flowing strong to breaking even, and this fourplex, it was not. I hadn't optimized it at all yet, so it was negative cash flow.
Yeah.
I didn't feel super comfortable.
Hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hemorrhaging. Okay. So you offload that. Here's one last quick note. Are you still working as a nurse?
Yeah.
The whole time?
No. Yes. I slowed down last summer.
Okay.
So I work 0.5, so it's like half the amount of time.
Okay, but you're working full time up until last summer.
Yes.
So as you're becoming a real estate investor in 2020, you're from February to 2022, the summer you're doing full time as well as acquiring these deals, flipping these properties, getting rents high, getting cash flow, refinancing out, paying everyone back on their investments, giving Bruce your 100K. Everyone's making money, and you're still on top of doing all that. You're still working full time.
Yeah. And honestly, that 300K you said there, that's light, dude.
Yeah.
So Bruce renovated my 6 unit, and I've probably given him 250 on that one alone.
Okay.
So it was just coming back to me. I'm like, man, we're probably pushing $500,000.
Okay.
Bruce has gotten. But yeah, so I sold the fourplex, like I said there. I just finished up all the rentals on the 6, and I'm just starting that refi process
Right now.
Wow.
Okay. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, man.
From when you thought about where you were in 2018 to now, how you feel about your journey?
I feel pretty good about it, man. I think I've definitely come a long way. And one thing I want to touch on too, actually, that we didn't mention, 2022, I started joining coaching programs.
Oh, good call. Yes.
And that's what's actually really helped me
unlock,
like my mind. Not only just like real estate knowledge, but it's like overall mindset.
Yeah.
I feel like I've really grown in the past year and a half significantly in that regard. But so like 2022 was the year I started looking, thinking bigger. And that's when, like you said, I started hanging out with Ian.
Yeah.
Talking about buying large multis and like buying them in the United States, stuff like that. So, yeah, from 2018 to 2022, podcasts, organic growth, slow and steady wins the race, which is great. I think everybody should do that.
Yeah.
But at a certain point there in 2022, I felt like I had bigger visions.
Yeah.
And I needed to figure out a way how to get there.
What were the bigger visions? What were you like? It's like, I'm curious as the inspiration, because by the sounds of it, you're cash flowing nicely in 2022. You made a bunch of money. I'm guessing you could probably sustain whatever life you have right now off of those rentals that you've done, which is the rat race. You're out of it officially. You're somewhere close to it, I imagine, based on the asset collection that you have and your new net worth. So what is it that makes you go, it's time to go again? But like this time we're going to go bigger, faster, stronger, that whole bit. Like what is it that makes you, that turns the wheel in you that thinks I can do more and I'm going to do more?
Yeah. So like you said, like I had slowed down working, but my wife was still working full time. My mom's still working full time. My dad's still working. Okay. The whole point of all this for me was to really, create generational wealth and take care of my family.
Okay.
And I wanted to retire all of them.
Okay.
And I needed a certain amount of money to possibly do that. And doing the smaller multi route, it'll get there. There's no doubt. It'll just take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I want to buy a bunch of small multis, or why don't I start looking at bigger stuff?
Do I want to buy 110 units, or do I want to buy 100 units?
Exactly. The latter every single time. I would love to buy 100 units. So yeah, that's, the coaching program really helped me look at that. Start looking for bigger deals.
Who suggested coaching? Like, where did you get that idea from? Because this is common in real estate, in terms of like actually a realtor, real estate agent industry. Is coaching is a very, very like common theme for us. Like I'm in coaching. Nice. I've got very good friends who are in coaching. My first ever sale was because I hired a coach who helped me set my career straight. Nice. Like I always recommend coaching or even therapy to talk to someone about you and your stuff, because when you can get it, you can never see the whole picture when you're staying in the center of it. You always need someone else on the outside looking at the picture to tell you something that you're not seeing, because we're blind to our own faults. Right. So I always suggest everyone who I'm close to, I'm like, just talk to someone. Like go pay someone $100, to come sit down with you and listen to what you're trying to say and help you accomplish your goals. So what was it about? And most people don't do coaching and don't believe in self-help. Right. Like I read a lot of self-help books. And I get mocked by my boys because they love me to death. Right? Yeah. But like people in self-help and coaching doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. So to recognize that and to even sign up for it and see the value to help you push to another level, where did that come from and what made you do it? And how did you find that coach? That's a lot of questions, but I'm just free balling here. So work with me. Yeah.
So summer 2021, I would say that I had started following a lot of people on Instagram that were investors.
Okay.
So I purposefully curated all of my social medias to really be about real estate investing.
The rabbit hole. You want to focus a tunnel vision on what you're trying to do with your life.
Exactly.
Might as well surround yourself with the people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah. I didn't care what my high school buddies doing now. I didn't want to see their posts. So my Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, Facebook, completely real estate investing. And in Ontario, a lot of the investors were in Ontario, and they were all killing it. Like they were all scaling fast, doing amazing things. And
in Ontario, the most competitive market in the country.
Exactly. And I'm like, how are they doing this, right? And just by following so many of them, I was able to come across like one coaching program, it's Corey McKinnon's, and he has this one coach, and his name's Michael Watch, and you could book like a 1 hour call with him just externally. It cost like, at the time, it was like $120.
Okay.
So I booked a call with him that November.
Okay.
Best call I ever had regarding real estate.
Really?
Unbelievable.
That impactful.
So impactful. And I said to myself, I got to talk to this guy every week.
Yeah.
But I can't spend $120 every week. And plus, I don't think he wouldn't allow people to do so, because because it would take away from the program. But anyways, just that one call was it. I was sold, and I joined up January of last year, and I told them straight up, I'll join, but only if Michael can be my coach.
Yeah.
And of course they obliged. And
of course.
Michael was my coach all year. It was amazing. And then like last summer, I made a shift. Instead of investing in Canada, I wanted to invest in the States, but I'm like, how do I do this? You know?
Why?
That's a loaded question. So like probably I'll give you 3 reasons. One, like I wanted to buy larger multifamily buildings, you know, 50 plus units, 20 plus, and the price per door in America is just much more
affordable.
It's much more affordable.
Okay.
More inventory, so there's just more opportunity.
Yeah.
And 2, this one might be
I know where you're going with it.
Subject, but landlord friendly states, man.
Yep.
You know, it's like it's tough here.
It's very apparent.
Yeah,
it's very apparent. Like one thing about we can say this about Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia, we see the social media. It's not landlord friendly. It's not landlord supportive. Not that these things have to be, but going into a place that is. If you are a landlord and you are in the business of landlording, you might as well invest in the place that is landlord supportive.
Yes.
Rather than why would you go towards friction when you can have peace?
Yeah. So the rules are just written in your favor. Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, like, rent in America, and especially in the markets that I'm looking at, it's not that expensive, especially compared to Canada. You know, you can get a nice 2-3 bedroom unit, $1,000.
Okay.
You know, so when we buy these units and we have to, they're usually under rented, so they might be like $800, $850. All we have to do is bump the rent $150 to make it profitable for us. It's almost impossible. If I buy something for $800, something that has rent of $850 here in Halifax, you know, we know what the market rent is,
and you know what rent control is,
and we know what rent control is, right? So we can't increase it by more than 2%. Just the numbers don't work on entry or exit. It was just real tough.
Yeah.
And we weren't in the business. I wasn't personally in the business of rent evicting people. You know, just not how I get.
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good.
It's not great.
I'm not here to displace anybody. You know, I don't want to. So a couple of like my sixplex, you know, I did turn over 5 of the 6 units, and everybody happily they took my cash for keys offer. You know, I told them I need to do this.
What is cash for keys? Someone might not know.
Just offering them some money to move out.
Yeah.
To its simplest point, like basis, and like they're agreeable. Like
yes.
I'm not offering them like $500.
No. You're not saying I got $50 cash right now, my friend. Like get out of your $1,000 rent. You're like, I'm gonna give you. I see what your rent is. I'll give you 2x that.
Yeah, man, more. You know, 3-4x. Like 2 of them I had to pay $5,000. You know, and I was happy to. They were happy. I was happy. Win-win. One lady didn't want to take the cash for keys. Her rent was $500. She's a little old lady. She's like, I got nowhere to go. Like, you're $5,000, $6,000, whatever.
Doesn't mean anything to me because I can't go anywhere.
Doesn't move me, right? So I'm like, fine, you can stay. And she's still there, and she's happy as hell. You know, like I'm not, and I'm happy that she's.
You're not trying to ruin it. You're not trying to make someone's life more misery. You're trying to quite frankly, you're a business owner operating a business. You're fine. And these businesses. Are you good? Yep. Okay. He just smacked the mic, guys. So we just want to make sure he's okay.
So sorry.
You're good. But you're a business owner who has to operate in margins, right? Because look what happened when you were operating in fine margins, but rates went up. Mm-hmm. And then the margins went away, and suddenly it looks like your business is going to fail, right? So you have to protect yourself. And also, you can't be in business if every deal you lose money.
No,
you run out of money. That leads to bankruptcy. That leads to financial ruin. And that's the nuance that you have to understand in terms of these things. But it's not to say that you don't care about people. It's to say that I'm here, but we have to move within these margins. I'm happy to. No, I don't want to charge you $2,000 a month.
I don't.
I'm not trying to bleed you out, but like I need 14. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like in that sense, I understand exactly what you're talking about, because being in real estate and showing houses and stuff, when we show a tenant occupied house, it's always a first discussion. How do I get them out? And you're like, you're going to go see them because they're going to be home, because they're always home, and you're going to meet them, and you're going to realize it's a lady and it's a single mom with 3 kids, and you're going to get her out of an $800 unit. You're going to put her back out to the wild that we know what the rental market is in Halifax. I don't want to get down that tangent because we just did a whole episode on that, so I'm going to let that lie. You look to America, right? So Canada's not landlord friendly. What are the opportunities you see in America that makes you think this is where I got to go?
Amazing opportunities, man, especially for the bigger ones. Maybe when this podcast airs, I'll have closed on our first one. We just got a
how many units?
24 unit in Cleveland, and just the purchase price, man. So we're still negotiating, but like it's under contract for 1.4 mil. It's like, imagine a 24 unit here in Halifax, all big 3-bedroom units.
1.4 million.
Yeah, U.S. of course. So
no, of course. So you're looking at probably 2.2. I'm not sure what the you're paying a lot more. It's double, right?
Yeah, it's less than 2 mil Canadian.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the price per door is so much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's going to be a perfect burr pretty easily. 14 of the 10 units have already been renovated. All they need is that $150 rent bump.
Okay.
And then if there's 5 vacancies, same idea. We get in there, renovate them, just cosmetic renos, get market rent. The value of the building will double, and just hopefully in under about a year.
Yeah. Pull your money out.
Put it into the next one.
Put it in the next one.
And there's all kinds, there's so many things that are available down there, man. If you think about it, how many people live in Canada? Some 30 odd million?
It's, we just cracked 40.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we cracked 40 million.
Good stuff, 40.
It's not America, though.
No, man, it's Texas. No, Texas got about 29, but that's still a lot in one state.
Yeah. Yeah, because America's at, I think it's I know it was 350. It's probably a little more now.
Yeah, right around that.
350 million people. That means there's a lot more units. There's a lot more vacancies. A lot more apartment buildings. And the thing about, we talk about supply all the time on this show because it never leaves our mouth thanks to Halifax's housing crisis and Canada's housing crisis. But the truth is, in America, there's so much more supply that it keeps everything level.
Yes.
You can have a $1.4 million 24 unit in Cleveland be on the market because there's probably never 10 on the market or something like that just are in around that price. Or someone can look to Tennessee or another state because there's so much opportunity down there with 50 different states. You can compare properties and then compare analysis that you can see, okay, well, there's really real value here. You come to Halifax, you look at, I think I saw a duplex listed at $1 million recently.
Me too, man. Triplex South End, 1.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the main reason, man. It's more opportunity to grow. And like you said, supply and demand. That's really the key to all of this. And America has so much supply that the demand's not as high and rent is reasonable. Here, our supply is so constrained for multiple reasons. We don't have to get into it. There might be some... Anyways, but the supply is real low. Yeah. That's why demand is real high, and that's why rent's real high. So we fixed that one issue. We increased supply drastically.
If you can increase supply, which, once again... We're not going to say the hows because that's all a different episode. But if you can change that, Canada shifts or even Halifax shifts, but it's not, and we haven't figured it out.
No.
So you have to go where the opportunity lands.
Mm-hmm.
So has it been scary looking outside the country of real estate investing?
It's been exciting. So again, like I said, this would have been June 2022. I joined another coaching program, and my coach is specifically a Canadian that lives in America. He has his dual citizenship. And he invests both sides of the border. Yeah. So I'm learning from a Canadian that does cross-border investing. Okay. And he's, taught me a whole bunch in the past 6-7 months, and now we're partnering together. So he owns, $20-30 million portfolio. It's sizable, right? So this guy's experienced, and we're working together. So all of those things where it would be maybe a little daunting if I was doing it by myself, it's now kind of alleviated working with someone that's experienced, and also Ian's my partner on it as well. So we have 3 minds working together to tackle it. As opposed to just going solo. Yeah, and
because most people, the idea of putting your money somewhere where you can't see it in terms of real estate, when I suggest someone purchasing an investment property in Truro, I get pushback. From Halifax, you know what I mean? So the idea of someone openly being willing to invest and parking their money in a different country seems for a lot of people somewhat overwhelming. So I'm just curious about, it's funny to hear you say how excited you are, but I guess you're excited by the opportunity. Yeah. And it gives me the opportunity to travel a little bit. Yeah. It's Cleveland. No one gets excited to go to Cleveland. Hey, listen, man. The king. Yes, maybe LeBron be there. But, we like Texas a lot too. So, I get to fly out to Texas. We have property managers there. That's the key to the business anyway. If we want to scale up to thousands of units, it's not like we're going to be visiting all of these buildings often. It doesn't matter if it's next door or if it's, across the world. It matters how well it's managed. Yeah, big time. So I want to bring something home because the reason why I actually thought of you coming back on recently is because you've had a lot of very, very good educational social media content where you started telling your story. And I'm curious as to why. Why did you make that shift? Why did you want to start sharing your story? And why did you want to start putting yourself out there? Because quite frankly, in Halifax, it's not a landlord environment for sharing your story. So what was it that made you think, I'm going to start telling people how I did it, why I did it, when I did it, where I did it?
So the reason would be like just one of the coaching program that I was in, they were really pushing us to be active on social media.
Okay.
And just I would read books from other very experienced and successful investors, and they talk about just your brand. You have to work on your brand, and so people know who you are. No one knew really who I am, right? So I have to be active there on Instagram, started the podcast. I tried TikTok. I'm a dud on TikTok. But on Instagram, I'm starting to pick up some speed. But yeah, and so yeah, create my brand so people know who I am. And two, when I first started, I was learning from your podcast. I was learning from other people. Yeah. So it's like now I have the opportunity. I think I've learned quite a bit over the past few years. If I can share this to the next wave of investors, and they kind of get inspired by what I do, I'd be freaking amazing.
Man, congratulations. What's the name of that podcast that you started, just for your own plug?
It's the Refined Real Estate Podcast. So me, Ian, and Janelle, Janelle Pichet, we started it probably like a month and a half ago, about 7 episodes deep, and it's been fun. And yeah, just like on Instagram, Shift Properties is my account. I try to post 2-3 times a week, sometimes funny, sometimes educational. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
What's been your hardest day in this industry? The worst day? Like, what was the worst thing that happened since you started investing in real estate?
Wow, it's a tough one.
I don't throw softballs.
Because sometimes this is actually kind of similar to someone asked like this basketball player, like, yo, are you tired, playing? He's like, man, I'm playing basketball. You know who's tired? Like that guy that's working 12-hour, 16-hour days. So when you tell me like what's hard for me, it's like a hard day for me is not that hard, compared to someone that's really out there struggling. Okay. So it's hard for me to think of any really like noticeably hard day. Of course, looking for deals in a hot market, you get frustrated and you're like, oh, I give up. This is not for me. But
what's been the best day?
Oh man, that first refi check. Oh man, that's nice, dude. It's that check with all those zeros. It's different.
What it looked like.
So that first one was like 130. It's like I've never
130K
at once. It's crazy. my paychecks, maybe 1,800, $2,000 bi-weekly. I've never seen all that money at once, so it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I can only imagine the feeling when you see that and you're like, oh, this is mine. I didn't just rob a bank.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
What's the best piece of advice you can give someone who's looking at trying to replicate what you did, especially as someone who might be a nurse? Because we know the healthcare industry right now is struggling in Nova Scotia with everyone probably bleeding to death in terms of how often they work, how hard they're working. So someone listening to this, what's something you can just offer words of wisdom that you wish you had when you started?
I would say at the get-go, like besides the obvious stuff, educate yourself, but I would say like network aggressively. Like, so not just network, like build relationships with people that are doing stuff that you want to do. So when I first started, obviously I had a couple mentors, like just like, my agent at the time, but he's doing great, mind you, but like I wanted to learn more of people from doing bigger stuff. So if I had joined these coaching programs like from the get-go, God knows where I'd be today. So I'm not saying go join a coaching program because like you said, it's an investment. But I would strongly suggest you just build as many strong, meaningful relationships with people in the field that you want to be like and potentially partner with and grow together with. That's what I would suggest. What's your
goal? Because you said you want to retire your family, which is a really big ask because everyone's still working. So maybe you ran the numbers already. What does that look like? How many doors do you have to acquire to retire your family?
Well, the doors thing, it's tough. People really glorify the amount of doors, which and there's rationale. The more doors sometimes can be the better. But also like how much equity do you own on the doors? I know some guys that might have they'll say I have 10,000 doors, but they own
5%.
Yeah, maybe 5%.
Yeah.
But I guess end goal it just it changes. It changes often.
It does. When you're I've learned this too is when you're growing and you're always chasing growth and trying to better yourself, the target moves.
The target does move big time. But I guess I do have an idea, like if I can just comfortably be making,
Go on.
Man, like if I can net $100,000
a month,
that puts me in a position to really take care of my family comfortably.
Yeah.
And I can now concentrate on other things. I can be the passive partner on deals. I don't got to be grinding out here, working so hard to be the active partner, finding the deals. If I can just happily give my money to the next wave, take my money and go invest and do whatever. And like I'm interested in other businesses as well. It's not just real estate. This is all pretty new, but like, yeah, that's roughly what I'd like to do.
Growth. You start looking.
Growth, man. Exactly. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's what it is.
From a nurse himself. That is fact.
Yeah, man. It's all about expansion. So I'm just trying to expand, be better every single day.
Yeah.
And I don't think that'll ever stop.
You mentioned the last thing there that I meant to dive into, but we were talking about other things. You said you're hustling, always find the deals. And at the start, when you were partnering up with people and taking their money to invest it and get them a little return on it, how hard was that in being responsible for someone else's check, that you had to make sure this deal had to cash flow at the right level, had to, the refi had to be right? I can only imagine the stress you might have felt taking on that responsibility of making sure that you're keeping safe. Your parents give you $100K. That's quite the investment you have to take on, the stress that I can only imagine. So how hard was that for you to handle in terms of all the work you had to do to find those properties?
So it's incredibly important for you to know what you're doing before you start raising money elsewhere. Because I've heard of horror stories here, and especially in Ontario, of people raising money nonstop over the past year. But the market's taken a huge shift, and now like all their investors' money, like it's just gone.
Yeah.
So, like you said, I've been very responsible in the deals that I go into. I'm very conservative with my entry and my exit. So, worst case, they'll get their cash back. But honestly, I tell people I will dissolve my whole portfolio if something crazy goes wrong and I don't have enough money to pay you back. I have equity elsewhere. I will sell this triplex that I have equity in to pay you back your $100,000 if for some reason the deal that I used it with, something went sour.
Always a nurse first, eh?
Yeah, man. It's your reputation.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
Yep.
If I start having a reputation where I don't pay people back or I don't pay them back on time, then no one will give me their money no one will invest with me.
It's also just a shitty thing to carry with.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard.
Like $100,000 for me, or an investor, might not seem like a lot, but like for just like you're an average Joe, $100,000 is a lot of money. If you're entrusting me with that kind of capital, I have to be very comfortable in my abilities to get that back to you.
I've said it before on the podcast, but like real estate, I find desensitizes us to the monetary value of the world, because like when I talk about renovations, I talk about projects or investments or how much we get paid, both you and I in our respectable careers, and you talk about 6 figures casually, or like this only, like, oh, it's only a new furnace, it's only $15K, and like someone's looking at you like, you just said the words only $15K. I work for a school, and you're like, yeah, right. It's not. It's just, it's hard sometimes to keep in mind and perspective of what everyone else is dealing with, because with real estate, as an investor, or even just being in the industry as a realtor who sells houses, we deal with tens of thousands of dollars every day. I wrote an offer the other day where I knocked $200K off the asking price. And like the sellers were not happy with that offer. We didn't get an accepted offer, by the way. They did not. They were not happy. But like we were like, our take was, it's overpriced. This is what we're gonna do. It's $200K. They're either gonna say yes or no. But you tell someone that who's a regular person saying, oh, we just knocked $200K off of this, or we're gonna knock $15K off of that. We're gonna do $20K. Like, we say it so casually that sometimes we lose the sense of the dollar value in terms of other people. I
agree, because I can definitely spit around 6 figures like it's nothing, but in reality, it's not. It's not nothing.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot of money.
It's an interesting industry. Manny, man, I just want to say congratulations on all your success and everything you do.
Thanks, man.
I'm really excited to watch you when you crack America. You come on back, because you're a local guy doing stuff and doing big transactions, and I think you'll perk up a lot of eyebrows when you say $1.4 million for 24 units. That cash flows.
Yeah, Perfect burr.
Especially if you're in this market in Halifax and you're looking at our rental rate and like our market right now, where you're seeing duplexes. He said 500K duplexes and HRM 500K. They don't even cash flow. They're stuck with bad. They're stuck with bad rents. Good people, bad rents. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm going to put your contact information in the show notes, and that way people can get in touch with you, and I'll also plug your Instagram because I know that's where you want to be, and I'll plug your podcast in the show notes so that way people who resonate with this can get in touch with you as well.
Man, that'd be great. This has been awesome, man. I've been looking forward to this for, 4 years?
No, we met in 2021.
No, but like when I first listened to your podcast, I said I'm going to be a guest on this guy's show someday.
Hey, man, we can have a beer after this. We can cheers it up.
Yeah.
All right, my man.
Sure.
Have a good day.
Thanks, bro.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Manny, you can reach him on his social media accounts, which are in our show notes, or at manny@venturecocapital.com. You can also find Manny on his own podcast, Refined Real Estate Podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can reach me at 902-220-7357 or jason@infinityrealestategroup.ca. Thanks again. Bye.